recording now. I will have tried new music. I'm trying something different, and I want to see if anyone responds to it negatively. And now that I'm addressing this, no one can stop me. But I'm gonna play some synthwave starting out.
Synthwave, okay.
And I think I want to drag it out too.
So like right now, there's like a boop, boop underneath
It's
us.
happening. I'm probably gonna do it right now.
Sweet.
So, Jake Gum, one of our editors at Cry, I will have already introduced you in our Welcome Back episode, but say hi so that people know who you are.
Hey everyone, my name is Jake, longtime listener, and excited to be here on the pod.
We have no structure. We have no plan.
No structure, yeah.
So we thought it'd be interesting. We have cool people who we're working with. I asked Jake to come on just to kind of talk to us about some things. I still don't know what to call this segment, but
Things we noticed.
Things we noticed, yeah.
Yeah.
Things we noticed or something right now, because everyone else has names. But it is cool to talk about things. And we also want to give a light overview of some good stuff from this episode. And let's jump into that first, Jake. What did you, as you listen to this episode with Phil and Stan, give us a quick preview of something that stood out to you that people can look forward to once they get to that point in the discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of gold in this one. I think you nailed it, Cody. You did great as an interviewer.
No podcast personas, Jake. We gotta keep
No
it real.
podcast personas. Yeah, keep it real. I think they had a lot of great stuff in here, specifically with client strategy on how to approach businesses. Yeah, just a lot of really helpful insight. I kind of feel like for any level, whether you're a small freelancer or a big production company, just approaching the client, not trying to tell them what their needs are, but respecting that they have the data, that they probably know more about their business than you do, obviously, and that you're there to provide some interesting opportunities for interactions with their demographics. That's kind of what I got from that section. Thought that was pretty insightful and a big one that is not talked about a lot. So yeah, really cool stuff.
Yeah. I think as we were talking about before we started recording, these guys really were quite generous in the way that they let it rip.
Absolutely.
You know, Stan, he says some big stuff with brevity, and Phil is quite generous with some of the... I asked them to. I asked them to open up, and they did, which is pretty awesome. They said some harsh truths that people need to hear, and some of them that have been sticking with me ever since I talked to them. And these guys are responsible for big stuff. But Phil says, you know, if they're shooting something that costs millions of dollars, he's not here to train you. This is not a learn job. And Phil says, you have to show me that you can do this. So even if you go out and shoot a spec yourself, you need to show me that you can handle this.
Yeah.
And then you are invited to the table to do that job. And there's probably 5 or 6 other high tier nuggets of wisdom like that I caught.
Yeah.
But that was the one that stood out. I think Stan says a phrase that kept, what was it? What he says, undeniable work.
Yeah, undeniable work is, heard
This
that
might
come
be
up
better.
a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. And he says it, he's such a straight shooter with it. He says undeniable work. And that's it. It's self-explanatory, undeniable work. And it kind of just has a weight to it because it's like, oh, he's right. That's how
Yeah,
you do
no,
it.
kind of some hard truths in there, but also kind of gets you fired up to just like keep going. And yeah, it's cool. It's a great podcast. So
Well, it's probably, I don't want to cut anybody out. It's probably my favorite so far, actually.
Whoa,
because
all right,
it actually,
bold claim.
well, it gives direction. Because people, if you wake up with the eye of the tiger or with a need, or maybe you have a family and you think, I have to make it work. How do I make it work? It's so rare that we actually get direction from somebody on what do I do next? And Phil and Stan actually gave us something to do. Maybe instead of me coming up with clever little gifties and the most well-worded email to an agency, I just go, no, all of my energy is now going towards my spec spot so that I can show them that I can do that instead of me wants it so much, which is something that a lot of filmmakers do. We just talk about how badly we want something and it just doesn't matter at the end of the day. So yeah, this was great. But another thing, Jake, that we're going to test doing here is to talk in a little tech news. And as the post-production supervisor yourself at Cry, do you have anything that you're seeing that's interesting tech-wise right now?
Yeah,
that has your eye?
absolutely. Yeah, so this was announced just a little bit ago, but I'm just kind of getting excited to test it out as we go further into 2024. It's some more of Adobe's AI tools they're releasing in Premiere, specifically for video. It's just going to kind of open up what's possible in our productions and in post, which is cool. So specifically, the generative fill for video is going to be an extremely powerful tool.
Just so that
I
we
mean,
can all understand what that means. Are you talking like I can minimize my image and then leave an empty space around the image, and Adobe AI is going to fill in, just like the Photoshop stuff we were seeing
Yep,
last year?
exactly.
It's going to create it, but for video?
Yep, precisely.
Wow.
And, you know, to the extreme, you could take a medium shot and turn it into a wide shot. Now, I'm not sure how much we're really going to lean on that, to be honest, but the possibilities are pretty cool. You can also do image replace. So you have a photo on the wall you want to replace, you can draw a mask around it and have it generatively fill an entirely different photo, or just remove it too.
So what's that going to make rotoscoping easier for like monitors and TVs in the background?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
One that I'm really excited about, though, is from the editing perspective, is being able to extend a clip. Let's say clip's only 5 seconds and you really need it to be 10. It can generate extra frames based on what comes before. So
that's good.
if a director called cut too early, for example, you could extend extra frames there and kind of make the timing work. I'm sure there's going to be some quirks with it. Probably won't work in every situation.
Yeah, but even that half second means a lot. Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely. So
Cool.
that's one thing I think of that is going to change the game a little bit in some exciting ways and kind of open up the possibilities. In a few years, I'm sure all the NLEs are going to have these tools built into them for the most part. So,
All right. Well, that's it. That's this week in tech news. We're gonna pop into it now.
all right,
Cool music, cool music, cool music. Out.
enjoy.
A garden of pure ideology.
Yeah, just your typical Super Bowl car ad.
Or a hilarious beer ad.
Break was over 15 minutes ago, Mitch!
I think you're the best ever.
Look down. Back up. Where are you?
You're in the bush.
Well, how am I supposed to know? I've never been there.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do. I think we're gonna be here a while.
All right. No funny bebops or show intros for me. I just start talking to you guys.
Oh, I
and
love
asking
that.
you-
I loved how you called yourself non-professional, because I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional. We're a group of idiots. So we're just traveling around this ball.
Well, I'm going to throw that right
Yes.
back at you, because at the top of my list, I have that you were on ad ages 40 under 40. So
Yeah.
you've been thrown under the bus there.
Thank you.
Since I mentioned that, were you surprised by that? Did you know that was coming?
I had no idea it was coming. I had zero clue that it was coming. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. I was like, who the hell would want me on any list? So, I just made it like by a few months. I was 39 years old. You know what? I got the call. I happened to be back home with my folks, and I was like, holy shit. So, yeah, no, I had no idea. It was a pretty amazing honor, very humbling, and probably not deserved. So there you go.
Well, you brought Stan on with us. I'm glad you did, but I'd love to. You could obviously explain it better than I can why you invited.
He's a good
s-
cop. I'm a dirty cop.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the bad cop.
I'm the dirty cop.
Oh, dirty cop. I was thinking bad cop. So you're the one who throws the drugs in the back and
All the
and
drugs
blames
are
somebody.
missing out of the evidence locker.
Oh, got it. That kind of bad cop. Well, Phil, if you
Yeah.
could help me out and give me some
Sure.
runway here, please tell me why we brought Stan on. I'd love to hear about both of you guys and not how. I mean, obviously how you started working together, but also why. If you know, if there's a why, what brought you? Because you guys have extensive resumes, which I'm going to brag about before our episode begins, and I'll have links in our podcast show notes. But just to come right out, one of the reasons I sought you out was because I saw your video game commercials portfolio, and I've always been really interested in video game commercials. And on top of just regular advertising, I think video game commercials are, I'm biased, but more exciting, but they're that much more mysterious, because the commercial world is already a little mysterious to just the general public. I feel like video games are that much more niche. So if there's any opportunities to share anything unique around that, please feel free to share it at any time. I'll ask you questions about it, but I'd love to hear anything. I know that's not the only thing you guys do. And I don't know, Stan, if you have any hand in any of the video game commercials that you guys do. I saw you shared your new Suicide Squad kills the Justice League spot.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, it sure looks like it. Your number one on that was Will Arnett, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Will Arnett and on Funches.
And they were actually written into the script, so which is pretty rare to.
That's great. I'm glad
Yeah.
you said that. I wanted to ask about that. Well, just focus on that one for a minute. I can say that from this process, we called it Filmmakers in Advertising because people do really want to know how some of the stuff works. And I know that some stuff could be too under the hood, but from whatever you can share, I would love to hear about. So let's just say something such as this, and I am calling it by the correct name. It's Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, right?
Kill the
Am I
Justice
saying-
League.
Kill the Justice League.
Yeah. The spot is actually Suicide Squad. Just Us is coming. So instead
Right.
of
I was calling it by the
Justice-
game name.
Right. No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, but that's exactly correct. Yes.
So in that process, does Warner Brothers, or at least in this case, does Warner Brothers already have a relationship with you, or does the call go out and then you guys compete for it?
So this is Warner Brothers is knock on wood, a longtime client of batteries. We've been working with them for since really since the inception of Battery, when we were like 3 people. That's when we landed Batman Arkham Knight. It was the global launch for that, which was super rad, and got to work with Jeff Cronenweth, and it was just incredible, huge spot. And then Mortal Kombat, and then Lego Dimensions, and then a little break there, and then a couple CG spots in there. But Kill the Justice League came out of not really a pitch scenario. Is more of a it was a call from our clients to saying, hey, this is a complicated proposition. Can you take a crack at trying to express it? It's a hard thing. It's funny because Suicide Squad is kind of like an intellectual thing. Right? It's the bad guys being forced to be good guys, right? And it's not something that you can explain even from a film or a story narrative standpoint. Like, forget advertising, right? But like, how are you going to explain it to someone in 30, 60 seconds? It's like, oh, hey, these guys are psychopaths, criminals, who are forced to work for the good guys. And by the way, it's a video game that you get to play as one of these characters. And by the way, it's all these characters playing at once at the same time. And you can embody any single one of them. And then and on top of all that, you have to save the world from the good guys, the heroes, Superman, Wonder Woman, et cetera, et cetera. So pretty complicated, and a big challenge and a hard thing to do to get it up on screen. But I think the team came together, and I'd like to think that, they came up with something really, really clever in the idea of Just Us, and what is essentially a parody on the traditional gaming spot, right? It's a parody on the traditional Call of Duty, whiz bang, celebrities coming in and inhabiting normal players and it's just like, you're just like all of us, This is really about a bunch of, no good nicks coming together to try to kill the most powerful people in the world and save us all. And not that Will Arnett's a no good guy. He's an amazing guy, but he has this amazing, ability to tap into this equity of being the sort of the bad guy, the what's the word I'm looking for, Stan? He's the sardonic, sarcastic, very fucking funny. He's insanely funny, very, very good actor, able to tap into all that. And honestly, he was just such a delight. So he was really first on the list, and then Ron Funches is Harlequin, and so on. It's really, really rare. I mean, we've made so many of these, and usually your celebrity list is a page long, and you're lucky if you get any of them. And so this is, working in video games in this kind of work is, because of the scale of it, is not dissimilar, I'd say, to trying to green light like a small film. A lot of things need to come together at the exact same time. Things need to really, really align. I mean, in the script, just like a film, it's where if you're working on CPG or automotive or whatever, you write something and then you go shoot it. In this particular case, you don't know where it's going to be because the studios want a certain director, the director wants a certain talent, we want a certain talent, everyone's got to agree to it, then the talent's got to agree to the words on the page, right? And then, so everything's sort of in flux, and it's in flux almost until, we're rolling camera, and it's super exciting and very, very stressful because there's a ton of money on the line. But it is, to your earlier question, why did I ask Stan to join me today? Because he's, without a guy like Stan and, the deep experience that he has, something like this is impossible, right? Because I'm on the front line trying to make this deal essentially and trying to get all these players together to agree to march in one direction. And I have Stan really, you need someone of Stan's caliber and experience to be able to produce a job like this that is constantly in flux. I mean, as you know, you're a producer, imagine I turn to you and I'm like, I need fire. And yesterday I didn't, you know what I mean? And I need it on the Paramount lot now, right? Or there's, the sky's open. No, by the way, it was the days we shot this were the 2 days that it was snowing in Los Angeles. So, which is completely crazy. It's like the first time in like 50 years that it dropped below 2,000 feet or whatever.
That's
lightning.
when you guys filmed this.
Yes. Which is why
torrential rains. It was all practical.
Yeah, it's
It was practical.
Really?
It was a practical, unplanned effect.
Yeah, totally insane.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you have all those things. An inexperienced producer in this particular space could be in a lot of trouble, right? Because there's a lot of moving parts. Gosh, it was how many people on set? Is hundreds. It's, Paramount lot
Really.
completely dressed. It was totally insane. So, and frankly, every job that Stanley and I have done together, that we've done together, has been kind of like this. And I wouldn't have it any other way. He's my ride or dies.
Well, that makes me uncomfortable to be complimented.
Sometimes I got to say some
There's
nice
there's
things.
a lot of incredible producers in the business that would do a great job with this, and I'm lucky to have been able to work on it. And really, it's just, accumulation of experiences, and then just trying really hard, and then things working out, and the production gods giving you little blessings or not.
Well, I would assume you have to have a certain type of attitude because commercials, in my limited experience, especially relative to your own, they're kind of just harder, faster, yes, more expensive, but means more pressure. I would assume you have to have a certain type of attitude when you say, I need fire today when I didn't ask for it yesterday. Right? Because there are some people who would turn around and go, oh, you can't have that, or we can't do that, or I don't want to do that, or they would be begrudgingly do it. You have to.
The truth is, this as being a producer, it's like really the real work is all the prep and everything that goes into it. And then when things happen, then you do your best to be, I hate to use the word nimble, but you try to be flexible and make things happen. But the big thing to me is having a really, really strong creative leader who has a vision, is willing to fight for the vision. Because if you don't, you're really screwed. When you get into those types of situations, the closer you are to your shoot, and then throughout the whole thing, because the whole thing gets pulled apart by committee, because everybody gets stressed out and everybody starts to guess about and speculate about what other people may want or not want. And that's when the whole thing starts to just get pulled apart. So, to me, it's the flip side of collaboration. There's the good collaboration, which is all the things that are necessary, bringing together all of the talented people, right? And all, as you know, in all different pieces, right? The live action piece, your production, your cinematographer, your art director, your costume designer, your director, all those people, that collaboration, love it, right? The collaboration that becomes a fear-based collaboration, and I'm not talking about this job in particular, I'm talking about a general dynamic in advertising, right? To me is destructive and demoralizing. So you need to have someone who has a really clear vision, can articulate the vision, and tries to protect the vision as much as they can. And Phil does that. and that's part of the reason why, you know, and that's a risk for Phil as well, so he has to negotiate that tightrope. Um, so it's
Yeah.
kind of a nutty thing, it's as a producer, the whole thing's really out of your control, but we're all trying to exert um, controls on a thing that has a lot of variables that ultimately are out of your control.
I'd love to hear a comment from you guys on, because you're doing it at such a high level. Anyone who has done probably all the way down to, let's say, your first commercial ever, the first time you realize, oh, I don't really get to be totally just clever and or creative here. This person behind me who's paying me to do this brought 3 people with them, and they all have opinions. And how do I factor that in? So then, go 10, 15, 20 years down the line to where you guys are. I'm curious to know what that's like, because I would assume it's just the same thing times 100 of you're pulling off. How many days did it take to pull off this production?
We got it done in 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days on set. Yeah.
Okay, so in 2 days, you're managing all of this, but also somebody on your team is managing those expectations from your clients and all the people showing up. It's much different from a film set video village that can be 5 to 10 chairs. How many chairs are at your video village on something like this?
I would say in this instance, though, clients were incredible, and they were totally aligned with what we were doing. So we didn't have that dynamic on this job. There was a lot of pressure that Phil can speak to, or not, but I didn't feel like we had a lot of dissonance there,
Is that because that's something you guys are able to achieve because you manage it so well early on in the process? Or is it just because of the ongoing relationship? Or is it unique to Warner Brothers?
Those are all great questions. Some of it is unique to Warner Brothers. Well, rather, it's unique to the relationship that you build with your client. And honestly, this sounds so cheesy, and I'm gonna, hate myself for saying it, but our clients, they're partners. You know what I mean? That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
It's the key. If you're going at this at like even any kind of arm's length, them and us, forget it. There's no world where that's going to happen, because not only do I need fire tomorrow, but I need approval, right? And I need approval now.
Yeah.
So the best creative in my mind is the stuff that is spontaneous, right? I see, I make, I do. And obviously this production is so massive and so pre-planned, and for safety reasons had to be pre-planned. However, having said that, there's still looks that you want to be able to, I see it, I want to do it, right? I want to move the camera or whatever. There's things that I can just do, but then there are things that I absolutely need permission for, because I'm going to take up, time from another shot, or I'm going to need to spend more money or whatever that is. I need to be able to pick up the phone and have that conversation with the clients on set, or, and sometimes if you have a great relationship, sometimes they're not, and they just trust you, so, and I know to
trust is a big thing.
Yeah. So some of the people who are listening to this, they're like, no fucking way. But to give you an idea, when we shot Mortal Kombat, we went to Mexico City, shot for 5 days without clients. They just sent us and said, we trust you, and just come back, which was crazy. And I'll say this, if you don't have that relationship, you're not going to be able to, you really then will be at the mercy of the schedule, and then making sure every last stone is unturned. Nothing wrong with that. You should be trying to do that anyways. But if you can get to the point where you have this fluid relationship and trust, then you can be like, you know what, give me this space and the latitude to try this thing. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We're not going to take away from something else, but that's kind of, to Stan's point, that's kind of how these things work. I think I can't really think of a production of this size where we weren't in that space. And it's because who's going to award you this type of production if you don't have that kind of relationship, right? I mean, you're spending
Yeah.
millions of dollars in 48 hours. So to even get to the starting line, you have to be in a place where your clients are your partners. They're an extension of your team, and you're an extension of theirs, and you're in lockstep together. As much as I'm very aware, Stan was saying, it's talking about me in terms of leading this thing, but the truth is that I'm acutely aware of what's on the line for my clients who are spending this money, and who, and in the video game world, are often, we're the smallest expenditure. These games cost hundreds of millions of dollars to produce, right? So this is the major asset that's going out the door. I'm acutely aware of how much pressure they're under. And honestly, where I want to be at is a place where they can trust that what I'm saying to them is the best for the project, right? And it's not just about, it's not just about what we think is the most creative or is going to win awards, or, and that actually circles back to the beginning of your question, like what was it like from my first shoot in my career to where I am now, and to where, and I'm sure Stan would echo this. It's interesting because I think we're doing some of the best work of our career, and certainly the best work the Battery's done, and we are equally, if not more, responsible than we have been in this whole thing, right? So when I was younger, I'd hit the set thinking, okay, well, this is my shot. I'm really going to kick the shit out of this bank commercial. It's going to be amazing. It's going to win every award there is to win. And I'm going to do it no matter what the clients say, right? And so there's this feeling when you're younger that one, it's a sort of zero-sum game, right? Like one is at the expense of the other, right? Creativity is at the expense of business. And the truth is that's not the case. And as you get older and perhaps a little wiser or a little more experienced, the clients are not the problem. It's how to express what they need and want in the most creative way. And if you're able to do that, then I don't think that the two things are diametrically opposed. Does that answer the question?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's all good stuff. Because like I said, you guys are working, and believe me when I say, I was surprised when we would start hearing from people, because I was a little timid about asking questions that might seem a little lame or a little too like, man, do people really want to hear about what someone else does at their day job? And I was surprised if they do, especially, younger and up and coming filmmakers. They do. They're really interested to hear these little things because you guys know this better than most. It is that little thing, maybe that setting expectations or that client relationship management that might be the thing that puts you way above your competitors. So
Yeah.
yes, I like hearing all of it.
I think that there's a lot of nuance in it, but the one thing that Phil said that is true is it's not a zero-sum game. That it is I don't want to. You asked a question earlier where you said, what do you do when you get a note or something that feels like it's out of bounds of what the plan was or what you're trying to do or trying to achieve. And what you do is you try to make, it's a cheesy thing to say, but try to make lemonade out of it. How do you take feedback and try to craft that into something that is productive, good, and in line with the fundamental core of what you're trying to do. And I would say that in the spirit of trust, that's what they're paying you for. That's what they want. They're paying you for your judgment. They're paying you for your point of view. And when there's uncertainty and there's a large committee, they're paying you for your point of view to be part of that really dynamic, for lack of a better word, conversation, and help move the thing forward in the right direction. So anyhow,
yeah,
a lot of lip flapping.
No, that's literally what we're doing. That's the whole point. I am curious to know, Stan, as the head of production and from a production standpoint, with what the uniqueness of what you guys do, let's just say relative to a film or something. Are you involved in the process much earlier?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about agency side producers. Whenever I'm talking to, my family or something about, oh, what are you doing making this spot or whatever? It's like, you're sort of like the general contractor on a construction site. So, you have a fiduciary responsibility, you have a creative responsibility. You're there in the very beginning, scoping the thing, and then thinking about, daydreaming about if it's something that's really compelling. Oh, what kind of music would it be? Who can, what are all the in different hands? How does this materialize? And then pulling that together. And then
When you say different hands, I'm curious about who, as the head of production, I know I've said that a few times now, but are you in a position where you're selecting crew or some of the keys
Yeah,
because of your relationships and who you trust?
Typically no, actually, because when you're hiring a director, you're hiring them because you trust them, because they've brought a vision and augmented an idea, and they have their people that they've been working with, that they've been successful with. So you want to honor that and let them choose the team that they're comfortable with. That said, sometimes you get into a position where, like, cinematographer is a big one, where, a suggestion might be, a little on the edge. Very, very, very rarely does that happen. Very, very rarely. I can count on my hand the number of times that's happened. And then, in those very, very rare circumstances, you might ask for another option. You know what I mean? You might suggest some options, but that's also, as that's part of like being a good collaborator. You're choosing a person you're going to collaborate with, so then you don't want to mandate with your creative collaborator what paints they use to paint the picture,
When you guys are creating something as big and as fast, and I don't want to just focus on Suicide Squad because you guys have done so much more, but you said 48 hours, and there's a lot in that spot, especially the extended one. Do you bring in your AD team pretty early relative to other
yeah, I mean,
spots
all of that. There was stunt rehearsals for everything. I mean, the whole thing was dressed. There was like a week of dressing beforehand. So
yeah. How long was that rehearsal process for you guys?
It's about let's see, the stunt rehearsal was a day and a half. It wasn't crazy.
Yeah. Here's one. And Phil, this might be you, but
Sure.
from the day you get the first call to the day of delivery, I don't know if I like I said, I can edit anything out if it's not something you want shared, but how
No, we
long
can
is
talk about
that
this.
process? And I don't mind you picking on it too, because I sometimes I joke about how I ignorantly, because I moved home from LA because I was like, all right, I need to make my first indie feature. Here's what I'll do. Commercials are a lot of money. I'll do some of those a couple weeks out of the year. I'll make enough money to float myself. It's just ridiculous because then I ended up learning from beginning to end, from the first phone call to delivery. Sometimes it can be 12, 18 months. And
Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe how just ignorant I was to how commercials work.
Well,
Obviously, you guys are a bigger machine, so you
By
can
the way,
probably handle it.
I think your plan's awesome.
I agree. That's a great plan. And I think you should include it in the final cut of this thing. There's two answers. There's what was it from script to shooting the thing. And then there's, which was about 8 months. What do you think, Stan? 8 months, right?
Yeah, 8 months.
8 months. And honestly, we didn't know it was greenlit. So this was probably back in July or August is when we put the script in front of them and they agreed to the campaign and liked it.
So you guys did write the script in-house?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I know you'd mentioned Warner Brothers came to you with the idea. I didn't know how fleshed out that idea was.
No, they didn't come to us with any idea. They came to us with
no idea. Okay.
No idea. No, they came to us and said we need to sell, Suicide Squad.
Just the game. Got it.
Just the game. So, and they had tried a few things and really couldn't nail the idea and the tone and how to do it. And it was, because again, it's a complicated. And by the way, I'm not saying we nailed it. I think we made something compelling. I don't know that we nailed it. I think so many people have tried to get Suicide Squad right. And I think the second movie was amazing. I think nobody really saw it, which is unfortunate because it was great, So
Yeah.
I think the idea of the parody and Just Us is came together pretty quick, and everyone felt like it was the closest that we could get to describing what this was all about. And then we went to work in terms of really a lot of animatics and, searching for directors and production and all that kind of stuff. So that although we had a pretty good idea of where we wanted to be, and the clients were heavily involved in that. And so this is where I was saying that this is where it becomes sort of atypical, because in the normal commercial world, at this point, you've been greenlit, you have money, so go award the job, right? In this world, you don't have money. You've been greenlit like a movie, right? So it's kind of like, theoretically, we want to make this. We all agree that we should make this. We all agree that if we're going to make anything, this is going to be the thing, but we haven't secured the funds for it. And this is coming from Warner Brothers, it's not Battery, right? So,
And to be clear, that means you guys are already putting in a chunk of man hours on.
$1 million. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So,
To put it lightly, you're
Yeah.
putting in the hours on developing this.
100%. Yeah. So we,
Okay.
we
That's a lot of
are-
trust in the relationship.
It's a lot of
I
trust.
would
It's a
assume.
lot of trust. And the truth is, so we're compensated for the idea portion. We're compensated for a lot of the upfront work. Where the real trust happens is, okay, we're going to go start talking to a production company. And in this particular case, Caviar, who we do have a relationship with,
I know Caviar.
Yeah, we did Netflix as a joke with them, and we really, really like each other. So this is where it gets, dicey, because in theory, everything's been approved, but really, we shot in February, right? Stan, it was February.
Yeah, February.
Yeah. We shot mid-February, I think. And I was in Japan. I was in Kyoto, doing calls at 4 a.m. with Los Angeles.
Wow.
And Jody Hill and Stan and all these people, and we're trying to, work out the animatics and all this stuff. And by the way, we are sort of paying as we go at this point. We're all kind of hoping that this thing happens. And a lot of it is not just predicated on the money. The money is predicated on the talent. So again, you can start to see this starts to feel more like a film than a commercial. A commercial is, this is all done. Here we are.
Yeah, it's massive. I mean,
Right.
and I'll just do the podcasty thing. Like, for anybody who hasn't seen it, it's massive.
Right.
And there's elements of this that, if you put yourself in the position of the director and the producer, from their standpoint, they want to do it, but he also this isn't the only thing on his plate. A guy like that's got so many things on his plate, and there's all the scheduling that has to happen. So, it's really atypical. And when it comes together, it's great, but it starts to feel a little dicey at some points, because it's like, you can lose people you want to work with,
$1,000,000%.
the longer, the more protracted that becomes. Also, the closer in proximity you are to the shoot, the more compressed things become. Things like being able to get a particular location. Like, there was something, we did sort of a pre-scout, and we really, really wanted this particular place on the Paramount lot to shoot. And so, that also is something that can get booked up. And so you have holds, and it just becomes a really
Well, then you
dicey
have
thing.
scheduling of the talent, and the talent is critical to securing
yeah.
money, right? So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
the money will not be released until the talent agrees to do the film. So, Will Arnett, who's a gentleman and totally wanted to do it, but his schedule, he was shooting in Atlanta, and like, is he going to be available?
That's right.
And to Stan's
That's right,
point,
yeah.
we have the New York set on Paramount for these particular days. Will Arnett can't shoot on those days. We need to get an exemption from the show that he's currently on to give him, even though he's not shooting on those particular days for the show he's on, he still needs an exemption to come back to Los Angeles to shoot with us. And so we need to get that. And then we need to align that with Ron Funches. And then we have our general cast, who are incredible, by the way, but they also need to line up, right? And then
you have the practical stuff. You have the props and the wardrobe. Legacy, created all this amazing wardrobe for us and all these amazing props. Well, they have a month of lead time for that, and the wardrobe has to be measured to your talent, and the wardrobe is 6 figures. So you also have, this sort of unwieldy situation where you're trying to manage the scope of the thing.
Isn't it crazy? Isn't that nuts? You're like developing.
Well, it is.
Bespoke, you're
something
developing.
like in particular. Yeah, in particular, like the location. The preliminary scope and production plan is premised on being in a particular place. And that place, you have a hold on, but you could lose the hold. And you're trying to, so the whole thing is sort of.
You don't have to gloss over it. This is why I said from the beginning, when you were joking about me talking to you guys, people either want to hear it or they need to hear it. They need to know what's involved with this stuff. And if nothing else, it's validating. And if I can, I'm going to keep asking you guys about some of your stuff with respect to the limited time that I have you.
Yeah.
But typically the way it goes, sorry to interrupt. Typically the way it goes is you have an idea and, sort of the orthodox and a great way to go. And is you have an idea, you have a script, the script gets approved. The scope is based on the script. The scope gets approved and you go make the thing, which is how we love to work.
I'm curious. I do want to ask about your internal communications, but I won't forget about that because I do want to ask because Phil mentions phone calls in Japan at 4 a.m. Will's flying in from Atlanta while he's on another show, and you're managing a client, you're managing a production company, and probably an outside director. So I've at a minimum got 4 parties, 5 parties. I mean, eventually it just becomes a whole Christmas tree of parties. But how do you guys, this might sound a little woo-woo, but how do you avoid burnout?
And we all have our methods, right, to avoid burnout. Phil runs. I have premium tobacco and donuts. There's.
I assumed I saw some quality running shoes in the background, so I clocked that right away.
That's you can see this. Actually, those are not mine, but those are my Peloton here.
Nice.
But
no, I'm serious. It might seem vague, but I mean, there is on these jobs there is something to do almost every minute. I'm curious to know how you genuinely separate and say, I'm going to the Wii Spa downtown. Leave me alone for 3 hours. Or I'm going to I don't know. I'm going golfing. I'm going surfing. Don't call me. What do you do when you're at this level? Or do you just know that, hey, we're 3 months out. I got nothing, no breaks.
I think if everything's going well, then this is your life, right? If everything's going really, really well, then this is what you're doing always. So it's not, the pressure cooker is in the last, for me anyways. I mean, Stan is way more involved, and that's, again, why I wanted him here. But the pressure cooker is much more towards the end of the whole thing. Like as we get ready to shoot and, we got one chance at it and then you want to be whatever. But if it's going well, then this is how it is. And for me personally, the more it's like this, the better, the calmer I become. It is, you can't, you can't think about the money. You have to think about the money, but you can't think about the money like there's millions of dollars and how many Big Macs does that buy? And oh my God, how much am I spending? You can't do that, right? It's got to be, it's got to be, they're numbers in a spreadsheet, right? And you're moving money around. And so that's number one. You have to be respectful of the fact that you're spending a ton of money, but at the same time, you can't be afraid and you have to move stuff around. And so I think for me, once I enter into that, sort of headspace, this is my job, right? I mean, I'm not saving lives here. The biggest thing that's at stake is this huge sum of cash, but and obviously all the people that are attached to it and their jobs and stuff. But I try not to focus too much on all of that. To be honest with you, right or wrong, for me, I wake up every day and I say to myself, this is gonna be fucking amazing. I'm really so
Okay.
I wake up every day and I'm like, I cannot believe I get to do this. I'm so floored that I get to do this. And every time I walk onto a set like that and see it, and I'm just like, holy shit, look at what all these people have come together to build. And you really look at the Suicide Squad set and you're just like, oh, it's insane. It's incredible. It's incredible. At some point, people should look at the before and afters of what that looked like. And it's just, because so much of it is practical and it's just so.
Is that something they can do? Is there somewhere they can see before and afters?
We have before and afters. We can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's, I think I'm in awe most of the time. I'm so excited and running on this adrenaline of, I'm going to endeavor to make the best thing I've ever made every single time. And by the way, that is not always the case. It's not always true. Right. But that's what I hope to do every time I step up. I feel like it's a chance to make the best thing we've ever made. So that to me is so exciting and such a privilege that I don't really get that burned out by it. And on top of it, I get to do it with my friends. Like, I consider Stan my friend. I consider Joe Scrow my friend. I consider all these people, I consider my clients my friends. Craig Mitchell, who's the head of marketing. I mean, I get to hang out with some of my best friends, working on some of the most creative stuff I've ever done. And we all get to make this thing. And people are entrusting us with this money. And it's, by the way, here's the next thing. I love video games. I'm a gamer. I play. People are always they're shocked. Absolutely, I play them like crazy. And I love them. I think they're such an incredible art form. When you're into it, it's just the best. So, and they've come such a long way. I mean, and now the writing is amazing. And I have friends of mine that are writing.
You may notice I have I went to the trouble to find a God of War poster.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't have more merch for that game because I was emotionally wrecked for a little while. Did you play Ragnarok? Because I don't want to spoil anything for you.
Yeah, you don't want to spoil
I couldn't believe if I could put Ragnarok on my Letterboxd profile as one of my top 4 movies, I would do it. That's how well they did.
It was really great. It was an amazing game. Yeah.
But your top is Predator.
The game or the movie?
The movie.
I do love Predator.
Yeah,
1987 was a good year. I do love some Predator.
On McTiernan. Predator, Die Hard, Hunt for Red October. 3 years. Yeah.
Those are some good ones. I am curious, and again, I can always take anything out if I'm getting too under the hood here.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys obviously have enough momentum where people are calling you, but what about something else? You may have noticed there's a Helldivers 2 craze right now. I don't know if that's your style of game. I don't know if you've heard of that game. It is
Helldivers 2? What is it?
It's called Helldivers 2. It's new, and get ready. I'm about to bring you new business.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Good.
I would probably sell a piece of my body to create a commercial for them at this point.
Wow.
Also because I loved Starship Troopers growing up. But they've captured some. It's one of the only companies. A lot of companies, they say they have a mission. And then it's like, we want to save the world. Crest toothpaste. And you're like, okay, Crest, I appreciate that, but this is a toothpaste company. And I'm paraphrasing a lot here for time, but they basically communicated. They said, look, gaming communities, the Call of Duties, the PvP, person versus person, it's become a little toxic. We wanted to do everybody works together versus the game, which is hilarious because apparently it's like some guy named Jerry out in Cupertino who wakes up in the middle of the night and just decides he's going to mess everyone up in the world. So it's all of us versus them or Jerry.
Oh, that's wild.
But What they have done, by the way, you can see it on YouTube or you can play the game. I would love it if you could message me after you do see this, by
I'm
the
gonna
way,
do it. Yeah,
if
it's
you
Cool.
have
It looks
time.
like, I'm looking at it now. It looks like Destiny a little bit.
Yeah, I'm
You know?
looking
A
at
little
it.
bit. Yeah, it is a little bit like Destiny, but they have basically captured the Starship Troopers vibe. I don't want to spoil the experience for you, but propaganda's a big thing. But between this commercial, literally like a propaganda commercial that you start the game with every time you log in, and this drop sequence, it's amazing. So I've sidetracked big time, but I'm curious to know if you see something like that and you get as emotionally compromised as I am now at this point on something, do you ever go after anybody? Do you ever call, I think, Arrowhead Studios, I wrote it down in case it's Arrowhead Studios. Do you call Arrowhead and say, hey, look at this portfolio. When it's time, when you're ready, we want the call. Do you ever do that? Or am I grossly paraphrasing your sales efforts?
No, I think the question is who is publishing it?
Who's publishing it? Okay.
So there's the studio who makes it. They wield a lot of power, obviously. And then there's the publisher who generally is in charge of the marketing. The question is, who is actually in charge of that? And sometimes we do go after it. And it's interesting. So like like I'm looking at this right here. It's unlikely. It sort of depends on the game. Like, let me put it this way.
Right.
Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption. Unbelievable, right? Incredible.
Big names.
Big.
Yeah.
$1 billion launches, each one, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's close to zero chance that either of them are going to do any kind of live action stuff. Like,
because of
zero.
the scale, or because even at their size, they can't really afford to pump that money into marketing?
No, they can afford it. They don't need to.
They don't need to. Got it.
Yeah. So live action is, you typically want to do a live action spot when you're trying to explain something that's a bit more complicated. If you're trying to get something across that is not readily accessible through a gameplay trailer, that is not, do you know what I mean? So it's like God of War.
Absolutely.
Like God of War is
Yeah.
a great example, right? They did that. I think it was Motion, right? They did that thing with Ben Stiller and John Travolta, and it was like
That skit.
Yeah, their children, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that there was, to me, it made sense because, the whole thing was, I don't want to give away what happens in the game, but at the same time, I want to have this big emotional moment between father and son and, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I thought that they did a pretty good job of stitching that together and selling that to the mass public. A lot of the times you're creating something for the mass gamer. And what I mean by that is not necessarily the Steam gamer, the console player, and you're trying to create something that is, for lack of a better word, or a better turn of phrase, we say it's permission to play, right? I want to create something so culturally impactful that when the gamer sees it, they're like, oh, this is part of culture. I have permission to engage with this. I think Blizzard did a great job with their out-of-home work with Diablo in New York, which was amazing. With the Welcome to Hell stuff, and then also, talk about crazy circumstances when the sky was like red and yellow because of the fires in Canada, all over New York City, and then they just happened to have the media buy in Times Square that said "Welcome to Hell" on the same day. Bananas, like crazy, right?
Yeah.
So we all know who started that fire.
Yeah.
But that's a great example of a game that is a super grind, okay, and not necessarily a mass title, even though it's gigantic. And then you have something that is so culturally explosive like that, it gives the fans a feeling of permission to not only play, but permission to talk about it and evangelize the game, right? So this is an awesome title. Like the concept of this is amazing. The question is, does the studio and do the publishers believe that they want to step outside of the core gamer audience and talk to the mass gamer, right? So a mass gamer, typically defined as, 1 to 2 $60, $80 games a year, plus the Fortnites, plus the free to play games, so
Right.
I think it's not for everybody, right? Like for instance, our PUBG work. I don't know if you took a look at that stuff that we did with Jordan Vogt Roberts, but
I did. Yeah.
That's selling a really complicated proposition, right? Like battle royale. What does it mean? You can use a frying pan. It's like you win, and it's winner, chicken dinner. Like, how do you put that all together, right? And that's an example again of taking something that is complicated and difficult to explain and whittling it down to a very simple proposition that you put in front of people, and you turn into what you hope is somewhat of a cultural phenomenon. And it did. That it beat out Fortnite. It was number one in the PlayStation Store that month. It was a big deal. So I think it's do I chase these people? I will if I know that there's a chance that they want to do something. A lot of game marketing reflects movie marketing, right? It's very similar, right? So oftentimes it's like, it's key art and it's gameplay trailer and we're done, right? And it's a lot of social beats and drops of characters and stuff. But it's really to the people in the know, right? It's people who are like hardcore gamers who are really, really in the know, and people tend to call battery when they want to ignite the largest audience that not only plays the game but that surrounds the game. And it's sort of like, hey Cody, I heard that you play games. Have you heard of the Justice League thing? I saw this commercial. I thought of you. So that's what people come to us
well, yeah,
for.
I mean, having Mortal Kombat, you're pretty much in like the halls of game royalty there.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Yeah,
which I saw on the Mortal Kombat one, to I guess say back to you that I think I'm understanding what you're saying. I'm sorry that one of yours isn't my favorite, but someone got to me really young. I think it was 2008. I see this commercial. It's one of the best. No, it wasn't Call of Duty. It was one of the best video game commercials. Obviously, it's 2008 that I'd ever seen. And I go to GameStop and I buy an Xbox that night to buy Halo ODST. And I play it, and it's whatever, But the commercial, here we are, I don't know, X years later, I'm still talking about this commercial from 2008. It launched that director's career, too, by the way, because I think he went on to do Snow White and the Huntsman. And after that, and I don't know, I know people have existing relationships, and sometimes it looks like one job is the thing that gets them, but they were actually already had irons in the fire. But still, a lot of people, Rupert Sanders, yeah.
So talented. Yeah.
A lot of people remember that commercial, though. And that was one of those ones where and that's why I thought of that one, Phil, because while you were explaining it, you were like, well, sometimes they need to communicate something that people might not understand. And it was like, well, yeah, nobody would have understood. Hey, it's Halo, but it's not Halo, but please buy game. You'll like it anyway, And in my opinion, the game couldn't live up to Halo or the commercial, but the commercial achieved what I think you were describing so well.
I mean, it was kind of a golden time. Yeah.
Was it?
I mean, I don't know, like 2008 to 2018, and maybe there's like this golden period of like the live action gaming stuff where it was just, really exciting, and because gaming was moving from being sort of fringe culture to being mainstream culture. I think Halo had a lot to do with it. And I think the work that 72 and Shia did with, you're literally on, Stan's the guy. He did all those Call of Duty spots, the ones that mattered. Stan was
did you really, Stan? I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did.
Don't shake your head. Those are big ones.
There were a lot of producers that worked on
yeah, but you were the real deal. And those were so critical in bringing gaming to mass culture. And Bobby Kotick and those guys at Activision, Eric Hirschberg, all these people were like, okay, well, let's not spare any expense. And by the way, it wasn't just the spots that were running, the gaming spots that were running, but that was a turnaround time. Like Eric and those guys in Treyarch and all those studios, they started to hire not just incredible writing talent for the games, but they actually started to hire amazing actors to play their likenesses in the games. I recall there was a Call of Duty with it was like Kevin Spacey, right? It was
Yep.
and then it was like all of a sudden it was like the writing took a quantum leap, and I have friends here in Los Angeles, and I'm not going to name names. They're behind they are writers that are behind some of the biggest movies, feature films, Oscar winning writers, and they write not just movies, but they are literally writing for companies like Ubisoft, etc. They're writing for games.
It's so cool.
And it's the wildest thing, and you can see it and you can feel it, right? Like Red Dead Redemption, like you play it and you're just like, this is unbelievable. The level of narrative and storytelling, dialogue is just, it's taken a quantum leap, and the whole thing has become so immersive.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of like, as it has become more proliferate, as it has proliferated into mass culture, it's actually done something. It kind of killed the need in a lot of ways for these big monster spots, because these, the commercials that we make, you need them less because people understand the culture more than they've ever understood it. Right?
Got it.
And so a lot of this stuff is, how do you, and the communities, by the way, that surround all of these games are so intense, and they slip in and out of mass culture that you kind of need to now be able to weave community into a lot of this stuff. And it's pretty rare, like Suicide Squad.
Do you mean, I'm sorry to kill the momentum, do you mean
Yeah.
to weave community in? Are you saying to kind of be aware of the zeitgeist of how they're talking about it, what's going on, stay relevant?
1,000,000%.
Okay.
And sometimes, by the way, they could be the talent, right? The community, the creators in the community can become talent in these spots. And you saw a little bit about that in the last Call of Duty releases, because it's important. Authenticity in these communities is really important. And so Suicide Squad is a bit of a rare thing that happened, because it was a complex proposition. It had one of the reasons I think that we could make it was because it was precisely a parody of everything that had come before it. Right?
Yeah.
If it was another one of those, then it would have been like, well, we've done this. We've seen it. We've seen, the celebrity pretending to be a gamer, and it's a really fine line. And by the way, gamers are super vocal. They will let you know exactly what they think, right?
They're pretty vicious. Yeah.
They're vicious, and they don't hold back at all. So you really have to try to be, I'd say that is probably the most difficult thing, is like, how do you walk the line of respecting the community that they built, because they really are the super fans, right? They're the ones who keep the lights on for especially titles that are like, evergreen, or it's like, let's say there's like 5 years between releases. These are the fans who are there. They're the fans who are keeping the lights on for everybody. So you can't just ignore them. You have to respect where they're at, and then bring them into the process. And hopefully that you're writing something that doesn't offend them, that pluses it. So it's huge. Honestly, that's what you need to be worried about. You remember we were talking about like the 15 people and the clients or whatever? The clients are worried about them. You should be worried about them, because they could kill anything. They could kill something way before it even sees the light of day. They know what's going on, and something can be dead on arrival like that because you weren't listening. So that's
Cool. That feeds into something I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
With a company of your size, do you guys have someone on your creative team, or do you just put it on yourselves when you're copywriting? I don't know how you do your creative, what your structure is. I'd love to hear it if you're willing to share that structure. But do you have maybe Sarah in the corner of the room who says, hey guys, awesome idea. It's going to get blasted because as my responsibility for what you've charged me with, they will hate this because this is going on. How do you guys approach developing your creative that is aware of, I guess I'll just call it the community?
So one of the things that Battery does is we, from a strategy perspective, we are not we don't believe, it's pretty rare to have one strategy person who can cover everything, right? So what we want to do is have content experts. So in gaming, we have content experts. In CPG, we have content experts. So we have people who are deep inside of these communities who understand and then also have a grasp on mass culture. How are these two things going to come together? So how far can you push before you're going to break that relationship? And so that's pretty critical. The creatives, as we write in concept, most of us are, especially in gaming, most of us are gamers, right? So we're playing anyway, so we understand what is going to be over the line, what's not going to be over the line. And then ultimately you're going to lean on the strategist who's going to be like, well, that's not going to work, or you might end up, pissing someone off. But I think, and then finally, you're really leaning on the client. I think what's really important is to understand, I believe more than ever, no one knows more about their business than the client does. And it's very interesting because there was a time when, you would lean on the agency and be like, you're the experts. Well, the agency is the expert in finding an insight and finding a way to exploit an insight in a way that maybe you haven't thought of because you're so, you're looking at this business all the time. Where our job is to be like, where can we create value along this chain of experience that maybe you haven't thought of, and then exploit that, and then put it out in the world in a way that you maybe haven't thought of before. But the idea that I know more about your business than you do, I think that's pretty arrogant. And I don't, so we don't.
It's good for young people to grasp too.
It's critical. You don't know. They have more data than you. They're in it more than you. They understand. Those days are really, really gone. And the truth is, that data piece is really critical. I mean, these clients have first party data that'll blow your mind, right? And so for you're not there to tell them about what their business is. You're really there to tell them about, well, this is what we might understand about the demographic that you haven't thought of, right? Or have you thought about this interaction with the demographic that you haven't thought of, versus how to run your business or what's relevant for you, because that's just wildly arrogant and frankly impossible.
That one's really good. That's a really good packaging of that perspective. I'd love to ask on that note, because up and coming filmmakers, they want to know how to get guys like you to look their way.
Sure.
So it doesn't have to be the Suicide Squad. And I know you guys both bring two different backgrounds to the table. I'd love, if you can kind of weave it in, Stan, I'd love to hear your involvement with the director, what that is as well. But before we start talking about that involvement, the simple version of the question is, they say, how do I get a job from you? How do you pick me? Right? That's the lazy way to say it.
Sure.
I'm trying to think of a more graceful way to say it, but that's ultimately what it's going to come down to, is what would make, if I'm a director and you put the call out and you go, we got the Helldivers job. And I go, oh my gosh, what do I do? How do I stand out? How do they even start? And I know there's different ranges of it, right? Because you've got a short list, you've got your reps, you've got your existing relationships. So I know there's probably like 20 answers, but
I mean,
there's no wrong answer.
It's trite to say it, but it's true. Like, what's the undeniable work that you've done? you know,
Love
in
that.
it. And obviously that's a very subjective thing, you know, um, but, you know, there's so much derivative work out there. Um, you know, how do you stand out, you know? And so I feel like, you know, you're looking for somebody who has done it before. They're not learning on the job. That's one, right? In terms of whatever it is you're trying to realize.
That's a good
And
one
then
for up and comers to register too.
it's a
That's it
tough one though,
just is the
well,
way it is,
for up and
right?
coming director, because it's like, well, how do I get to, you know, the scale of a particular thing, or what's involved in putting together spec work that is, you know, at a certain scale, you know, it's a tough one, you know. Um, but you know, yeah, what's the undeniable? Like for instance, this is kind of an old one, but when I think of when people say what's something that you saw that just really blew you away, Alberto Mielgo did Jabaro. Did you see that
No.
on I think it's Robots and Aliens, but
Oh, Love, Death, and Robots?
Love Death. Love
Okay,
Death Robots. If you
gotcha.
watch that, that is, you know, to me,
Which one
that's
was that?
it's undeniable. It's about this
The
conquistador who's
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, but the visuals were just nuts. I don't even know how they did
visuals
it.
and the dancing of the siren and all of that. So, you know, there's all of this, you know, mocap animation work that's out there that's somewhat derivative and doesn't blow you away. And then you see something like that. You're like, wow, this is really compelling, you know?
So it sounds like what you're saying is you guys and others like you in your industry, you see something like that and you go, okay, this guy's on our radar now, or this
Totally.
director's on our radar now
Totally.
because of that.
But I mean, it's silly to say that because he's on everyone's radar. I mean, he did Into the Spider-Verse. I mean, he's at the top, right? It's just that thing in particular, really, in my humble opinion, just for me, that was really, really an incredible,
Yeah,
incredible
I,
film.
I do want to encourage you to keep talking that way though, because you're still bridging the gap because everyone working around Culver City, Sunset Boulevard, or whatnot, wherever the majority of your offices are, when you say everyone knows that, because they do, everyone in town might know that name, but almost everyone outside of New York City looking in or thinking they're about to move, to Santa Monica or something to be among you to compete. It's just good for them to hear. It's just the harsh reality for them to hear is because they've actually got to look at I don't remember how to pronounce his name. They've got to look at how to get to his spot so that they can impress you to get that call. Because as you said at the beginning, when Phil was talking, you guys were talking about the budget and 8 months of work leading up, they have to know what's being put on their shoulders too. It sounds like, so it's all good to hear. Basically, I love that phrase you said too. Undeniable. What was that phrase you said? Undeniable
Yeah, just
work.
yeah. And then how do you get to undeniable work? Well, what are you?
Yeah.
I mean, this I feel like punching myself in the face for talking like this because
No,
it's
please
so
do.
trite.
It's good.
It's so trite, but like, what are you fired up about? And really really passionate about and then make that film, that short film, whatever that is, that's going to get you, you know, in the doors and wrapped and to you know, a production company that can support you and support your growth, you know, and help spread the word about what you're doing.
I'm only grinning because the stuff you keep saying you want to punch yourself in the face about, it'll be the thing, one of the things that someone takes away and they go, okay, all that other stuff is really valuable. I have to do this thing first so that I can get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't think that looking at a bunch of other spots and saying, well, I can do something kind of like that, let me execute something kind of like that is the way that you're going to get to a piece of work that people are really impressed with, you know?
I do genuinely appreciate you saying that. That's really good stuff. You're giving people a lot of filmmakers, they reach a certain point and they go, well, what do I do next? I don't know what's valued anymore. Do I go, it's like, I don't want to distract us from this discussion. I just took the last 18 months of my life off to make a feature because I said it's now or never. And it's
I can't wait
nuts.
to see it. When's it out?
I don't know. Because
Well,
it's just me and a
that's
couple of our in-house editors.
that is such a huge undertaking. That's so impressive.
It's
You
insane.
jumped
I have whites
great.
in my beard now. I saw one of my first ADs. He was my first boss. He came in on a commercial and he was like, "Why do you have more whites in your beard than me?" I said, "Man, let me tell you how this last year went." So it's crazy. But that stuff that you're saying, I'm trying to tell you, we don't just like we love it. We need to hear it. We have to whip it out to people and pass it out to them and go, hey, like, you wanted a next step. This is your next step. It's undoubtedly. In fact, I can point you right here to a voice that said it. This is your next step. Stop emailing reps 50 times a month or a year trying to get on their roster.
There's just so many directors now. There's so many directors, and it's a great thing. And it's not like in the old days where it was like you're shooting on film and there's a certain cost to produce things, and that's great. There's a lot of tools for people to make things.
But we have to solve that. There are so many directors, but I have a friend, Caleb, he's got millions of followers on TikTok now. In film school, everybody wanted to be a director. And he said, I'll get into After Effects. And now everybody wishes they could get Caleb on the phone because of all the places he gets invited to, because he became the After Effects guy. And he's just making his own shorts on TikTok. So we all have to keep, that. So I just to kind of continue to emphasize from the bottom up or from the listener's perspective, they're reaching up to grab information like this.
Look at Shamook. Look at Shamook and look at all of the de-aging AI stuff, and look at the work on The Irishman, and then what happened after that, and where's he working now? I'm pretty sure he's at ILM. So that's another interesting example. Different sort of pond, right?
Yeah. Phil, were you going to add to that earlier?
No, I mean, I was just going to say it's such a, what I would say? Don't try to contact me. By the way, don't try to contact me. I know that sounds terrible.
That's good.
What I mean by that is I'm the wrong guy. Reps, I love them. There are certain reps that I love, very nice people. I've known them for years. There's never been an email in the history of time that's made me hire anybody. There's never been a book that's been sent to me that I flipped through and I said, holy shit, look at that. I got to find this person. Never. It's all through who I know, who I trust. I'm trusting you with a shit ton of cash. Who has got the best creative vision? So I think the real question is, how do I get into that consideration set? And to me, that's not very different than when we first started Battery. And frankly, everything that I ever did in my career, which is, for the lack of a better word, it's the hustle. It's the relationship building. And I wouldn't start with the CCO or the ECD or whatever, because they're removed, right? At the end of the day, there are people that I trust. I trust Stan. I'm a Stan, like, who should we get for this? And Stan's going to put, 4 people in front of me, and we're going to have a discussion about it. And we're going to have a discussion with the creative director who wrote it. And then we're going to sit around and we're going to have a talk. We're going to say, look, this person's a feature film director. Are they really going to be interested in shooting this thing that's 90 seconds long? And are they going to bring it? Because it's got to feel amazing every second, Or are we going to go with this commercial director who's unbelievable, but doesn't have the chops that are, the reputation that's going to bring the clients to the table and the enthusiasm and all. So those are the conversations that I'm going to have. But in terms of who's in the consideration set, you got to bet on a horse, right? You got to find that horse. You got to say, who is the young art director, writer team that is doing interesting stuff? And if I was a young director and I had the backing of a production company, I would call them. I would search them out and I would say, hey, X and Y, you guys did rad shit. I could see that your names were slashies, 30 credits down, but that they had such a huge part of this, right? Those are the people I would call. Those are the people that I would directly target. And I wouldn't send a rep and I wouldn't send a generic email. I would go after them and talk to them and be like, what ideas, and this is why I honestly believe this. I would be like, what ideas do you have for spec creative that someone might be able to buy for one of your clients? Let's go out and shoot it, And I can tell you,
spec creative that you can make on spec and then sell to a client. Like, hey, I made a whiskey spot with brown liquid. Anybody can buy this. You just got to like the spot, kind of thing.
Or it's like an existing client that doesn't want to fund an idea, right? So it's like, hey, you have, McDonald's as a client or whatever. You have a great idea for them. They don't have the money to do it. Your idea is rad. Let's just go do it together and then go sell it to McDonald's after the fact. But not for money. Tell them, that they're going to put their name on it, and then you're going to go enter it into an award show, and then you're literally looking at that point just to get someone to put your stuff out into the world. It's not about financial compensation. And the truth is, I mean, that's what I did for years in my career. And the more personalized you can make this, the more successful you're going to be. It's going to be a shit ton of work. You know, and I say this to people all the time. I said to juniors at Battery, who, by the way, I believe are some of our most talented people and who work super fucking hard. And I say this to people all the time. I love the idea of work-life balance. I think it's important to have a work-life balance. I think it's important to find your identity outside of what it is we do. Now, let me give you the flip side of that. You're a creative person. You are in an apprenticeship culture. You need to learn how to do this. You know, to go way back to the question about burnout. The reason I don't get burned out is because I've done it. I have my 10,000 hours times 10. This doesn't freak me out. Okay, it doesn't. And so because it doesn't, I can go and do this and I can get it done. I know that it doesn't flip out Stan, right? Like, we're looking at this stuff, we're putting it together. It's not. We're going to find a way. We have a way through. You need to get there, and you need to front these things, and you need to develop those relationships. And now is the time. As a young director, as a young art director, as a young writer, you need to find people who believe in your vision, and then you need to work to create a personalized version of that vision for those people to consider what you're doing. You need to find people who are going to champion you. And there's zero chance that that's going to happen if you are not going to hustle. That is just not going to happen. You need as many irons in the fire. And I know it's aggressive and I know it could be toxic, but you know, it's Glenn Ross. It is always be closing. And by the way, that is not just some simple thing that you're going out there and be like, well, I called that guy and I called that person and whatever. And you know, that's not what it is. It is literally, I spent half an hour, I spent an hour with that person. I crafted a very thoughtful message to that person. I thought long and hard about what it is that they're trying to do. And I stepped outside of myself to create something of value for them. You have to do that. There's, to Stan's point, there's so many directors. There are so many people. I have never in my life, I mean, everybody is a creative director. Everybody that you talk to is a creative director, right? And I will tell people, I'm like, you're not a creative director in my business. You want to be a creative director in my business, you got to be at this for, 10, 15 years before you're going to get that title. The world has changed. The democratization of creativity is both the best thing that ever happened and simultaneously the worst thing that ever happened, right? Because there's all these people who don't have the ability to actually get it done, who have enough, followers or whatever it is, and they're out there being critics of how it gets done, but they're not actually the people who are doing the work. You want to set yourself apart, you have to go out and you have to find those opportunities, and you have to make stuff, and you have to keep getting kicks at the can. And then someone will notice and someone will give you that shot. And then once you have that one thing, you just have to build and build and build. And I can tell you, I'm 20 years into this job, more, which is terrifying. Probably 25, 27 years in. And I can tell you that I am hustling every single day. You can ask Stan. I'm literally thinking about how to get this done. What is the new way in? And I try to elevate that every single day and think about what is the thing that is going to it's not about getting noticed. It's not it's not some kind of, gag or whatever. It's literally what is value, and value changes. And that's what's really critical, right? So what is valuable today is going to be different tomorrow, and it's going to be different 5 years from now. And it's so simple. It is so easy for 5 years to go by like this, and for you to still be trying to create the same thing, right? Because you're still trying to perfect that thing that you were obsessed with 5 years ago, right? And by the way, nobody wants it anymore. So that's the, there's so many moving parts. My advice is create and find people who want to create with you. Find people who want to champion that. You need to find the money people who are going to put up the cash to, because they're betting on a horse. Just the same way that you are out there finding, these young teams who are coming up with these radical ideas that you want to be a part of. There's someone who's looking at you as a director or a producer or whatever and saying, I'm going to invest in that person. That person, I want a relationship with that person. I see the future in that person. And it's happening all the time. And I don't think I certainly didn't see it when I was a young person, but looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, that the CEO of Gray over here invested in me, and this person believed in me, and this, and you don't really see it when you're younger, but people are making those kinds of bets all the time. You want to be that person. And there is literally no limit to what can be done if you are willing to go that extra mile, right? And I think it's why, it's that whole, fighter mentality, right? It's why we love watching, Rocky montages and stuff like that, because you love to see what people will do, how far they'll go, right? And it's anyone's, we're in such a competitive space that it's really truly anyone's game. So who's going to win on the day is going to be who prepared literally that extra 5 minutes leading up to the day. And if you were smart and you did all those things, you're going to be successful. But if you're unwilling to make those moves and you're unwilling to do that, it's going to be exceedingly difficult, I think, to get on somebody's radar. Certainly someone as, talk to Stan for 30 seconds about film, and you instantly understand the depth of his knowledge.
Honestly, I could talk to you guys all day long, but I know you're busy and I want to respect your time. But I'll say literally don't contact them, just like they said. Don't call them, don't bug them. Well, like I said, guys, that's what we needed to hear. I like hearing it, but it's been a real pleasure, and I'm really grateful to have connected with you guys. I just was genuinely excited to talk to you guys and hear more about what you do. And I meant what I said. I could bug you for hours and hours, but I won't. But if you ever want to add more someday, anytime, say I got some stuff to say, I'll line one of these things up. Well, guys, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah, wonderful talking to you guys. Great meeting you.
Likewise.